Okay, welcome everyone. Um, we are the SEA Academy. We are a branch of the Sustainable Enterprises Accelerator that organizes workshops and webinars to teach business skills to students and community members. My name is John Deal. My team consists of Peter, Todd, and Ilaria. Today we're joined with Jason Curry. He's got many years experience in digital marketing. He has been a founder, a manager, and a director of marketing for online stuff. And he's the current founder of Hammersmith Consulting, which is a company that's dedicated to the optimization and marketing of communication strategies. Welcome, Jason. Okay. So to begin the lecture, I just wanted to talk about how social media is used inside of an organization. Um, this is important to people that are entering the industry, especially into the internships and like low-level work, because you might be asked to manage a social media account for your organization. It's important to the organization for audience building and brand exposure. Um, it also helps with lead generation, keeping yourself as at the top of the viewing for your consumers. It's also involved in crisis management messaging, like getting out your words quickly to your audience if need be. Speaking with audiences on a global scale ever since globalization, and also social media has made techniques where languages can be transferred even if you don't speak that tongue. It's also involved in event organization and in event planning, in recruiting people to come to that event, and also it is involved in getting immediate feedback from the consumers.
Now I'm going to talk about how social media platforms could be used in the workplace. To start, Twitter. Informal writing is standard. With Twitter, is different from any other social media, you could be a little bit more loose. And respond time can benefit the company with immediate feedback. This is only true if the company knows how to respond correctly. Onto Instagram, you could promote your products. You could boost company brand to show that you're different from the competition, and the pictures to show company style and who you truly are. Instagram fairly has a higher activity rate compared to any other social media platforms. Now, Facebook, it has a large audience. Facebook has the largest audience between all the social medias. You could invent organization, and they just added a new thing called online marketplace, which is basically you could sell your company's product straight from Facebook. YouTube is the second most popular search engine, right behind Google, so that's saying something right there. And videos allow for greater variability in content. So your videos can go further and wider on YouTube compared to any other social media. Now, LinkedIn is professional networking only. You can do recruitment and business to business relations. If you're trying to choose between two businesses, you could check right on LinkedIn and choose which one fits you better. And you could also stay up to date with industry news.
Okay, thank you. Um, I wanted to quickly talk about web analytics. The way these work is they can help you keep track of like clicks and view time and likes and followers gained. These are found on the social media platforms that you're going to be looking on. Um, you want to be paying attention to these, and you want to understand uh, them because they'll show you what you're doing right within your own messaging, and how what you're doing affects what you need. And also part of that is understanding what you need to watch, like what you should be measuring to gain, like to get success in whatever you're trying to accomplish. Um, like say you're trying to get engagement from the tweets that you're doing. You might not want to be looking at how many likes they are, but like how many followers you've gained, and understanding that relationship and what you're doing right can help you to become a better analyst. And also, there's free training on Google Analytics at grow.google. A content management system, or like a content calendar, is a way to help you stay organized within the content that you're going to be managing for whichever company you're going for. These can be prepared, and they will like have what site they're going on, and like posts, and keep track of the character count for you. It's a good rule of thumb to keep 2 weeks of posts prepared ahead of time, and then plan for 2 months of content, and then keeping that updated as well. This can be done in Google Sheets and Excel. That's where I did mine for the internships. But there's also, whenever you get down to like a professional level, you might be working with these marketing project management boards like Trello, Asana, Buffer, Agora Pulse. One of the more difficult ones to use is Sprout Social, and one of the more user friendly, like on the low end, is like Meet Edgar. I just wanted to briefly show you what a content calendar looks like. So this is the basic gist of what it would be like. You want to include things like the publish date, where you would publish them, which platform you're going to be using them on, who's going to be posting them, as well as the publish time. Within the posts, they can be completely viewed up here, and then you keep a character count. And you would also want to keep a thing right here for where you're going to be putting, if it's going on Instagram, to put like the image link, so that even if you're not at your computer, somebody can post it for you.
So when you're creating your photo content, I just came up with a couple few tips so that you can really make sure that your photos are still looking professional, even if you're using just your iPhone to take the photos. One of the really big things is going to be in lighting that can kind of make or break your photo. And some great ways to improve this, if you're going to be taking your photos like in your store or just kind of out at a location, if you're able to maybe take photos throughout the day and at different angles to kind of see how that lighting is going to work throughout the day, so you know in the future when is the best time to take photos and where you should place your products at to take those photos. Another way to do this is just kind of setting up an environment yourself. You can use like white paper, poster board, because the artificial light that you use will reflect best off of white, and that'll give you a really nice clear shot of any products that you'd want to take photos of for your social media. Another tip would be if you're taking any photos using movement or there's any action in it, you can set your phone to a burst, and that'll take really nice clear photos for you, even with the movement involved. Another tip would be using the rule of thirds. So again, on your phone even, you can set a grid in settings, and this will just allow you to kind of make your images more interesting to the eye. You're just gonna kind of, using that grid, put your subject or focus of your photo in one of the four main corners, and that'll just kind of make your photos a little more interesting to look at. Another way to do this is using different angles. So instead of kind of the same angle on every photo on your feed, mixing it up, doing different angles will make it more interesting to look at. And then besides those different tips, it's also super important to use the right image size for the different social media platform you're using. Unfortunately, almost every different social media has a different dimension that they use for their photos. So I listed some of them here, but I would just recommend going forward, if you're doing that, to make sure you're getting those right dimensions for your images. And then, so as John was talking about earlier with the content calendar, he explained that you can upload those links to the photos within the content calendar, so you can go back and use them later. And I believe John will go and we can walk through how to do that.
So you'll want to get a fair use image off of Google first, unless you took the photo yourself. And then you would want to add it into a Google Drive to just be able to turn it into a usable link for online. Right here, you'll see Get Link, and click that. Then you can copy this link right here, and then you have the link, and then you would be able to post it right into a social media platform. Oh, not this one, but yeah, there we go.
And then just some other graphic design tips for your posting. You really want to be consistent and show your brand voice and theme. One way to do this is by creating a style guide for your brand. This would include different font sets, a color scheme, your logo if you have different versions of it. Making sure to include those elements in all of your posts will really tie everything together. Going off of that, having just a theme or a goal in general with your posts is always important. You want to know what you're trying to convey with each post, what the message you're trying to convey to your audience is. And that way you're able to include elements of it in the graphic elements of it and also in the messaging as well. You just want to make sure not to make your post too heavy on text, especially like the image elements of it. And then you're always going to want to make sure you're looking at your analytics across your different social media platforms, and you can really use those to judge what type of content is doing well and what's not. So maybe video content is doing better on some platforms than it is others, and this will kind of let you see what type of things are working and what aren't. Another thing you can do is create templates. So if you have a certain campaign or something that you're doing and you want kind of a consistent theme to it, creating a template using sites like Canva, PixArt, or Pictochart. There's a ton of different options, but they're all going to give you like options that are free use and can really help if you really don't have the team or the time to fully design things on your own. And then you're going to want to plan out your posts and make sure they really look nice together, the layout of them. You can use even just like your camera roll, or there's different apps that will allow you to do this. And you just want to make sure that all of your posts are looking cohesive together. You don't want them to be boring and all of the same thing over and over again, but having that consistent like style and theme in them will make your whole page and brand seem cohesive.
Now, if we're on the blogging side, you want to give updates on projects and clients, possibly if you have like big name projects that you want to share with employees or just get customers more alert of what you're doing. And client based, if the customer knows who the client is or wants to know more, you can describe like who you're working with, and then talk about events that are happening. It could be charities, it could be even promotions that are going on with the company. I mean, the customers might want to know like who got promoted. It could be an interesting thing because it could get them more interested in maybe working there to see how high they can rise up through like the rankings of work. And then promote your products. It's very important to promote them and keeps customers in the loop. That way you can sell more. And then add your link to the website. Like I said, it could attract the customers to see what you're selling, where you're located, who's in charge, possibly, and then use the company's voice. Speak candidly, and then also be creative about it. Also, use the whichever objectives are within the company. And then networking and reaching your target market to gauge in communities, stay constant in style. It helps the company stand out from other companies, which could help customers come into your stores nationwide, worldwide, or even possibly work for you. And then your tone is very important. Just watch how you talk to other people, and then use direct response copy to bring a call to action. And then for interconnectivity, be most sociable through social media. It's very important to, especially if nowadays if everybody's on social media, it could be very important to see what is going on if they can't see what's going on through the blog. An example will be LinkedIn. People can see what jobs are going on through the company and possibly can make connections.
Now on automated marketing software. In short, this is a process of leveraging software to automate repetitive marketing tasks. So I'm going to talk about some pros and cons with this. First, time saver. This is the most obvious. This allows marketers to create space for strategic thinking. Next is get a better understanding of your audience. Every interaction with your business is automatically recorded and saved with the software. So with more data means this will improve your understanding of your audience. Next is building relationships with your staff. This technology can make your industry really more interesting and very fertile. This is going to help that poor email marketing executive who spends every day setting up stuff that this software does. Helps out everybody. Next is more contact with the public, the more sales. Now on to the cons. Consumers growing tired of similar messages. You can communicate more, but not too much. The consumer will be less interested in your company if you keep sending them the same stuff over and over again. Next is creating new content. This is a risk because too many automated campaigns is really bad for your company. And also it will be hard to untangle and update with new content that you post. And lastly, lack of interaction with customer. It is less of a person-to-person relationship since the software will be sending everything to customer. So they might be bored just because of that, which is also bad for your company.
Okay, thank you. Right here, I want to talk about search engine optimization. This is a process that just helps your company become more visible on the web. This is mostly for like your own like personal website, but like it's related to your social medias too, because you want to get those to stand out as well. And your ability to do this is just mostly just within your framing of your website. Behind the scenes, like using like the keywords to your advantage, talking about what your company does, using like words that just like are correlate to what you do. This will like position you on the ranking algorithms, and just make you stand out if like you are matching what they want from whenever they search in. And then also link building. This is just like linking to all of your different stuff can help improve you and like get you more visibility on the web. And visibility is like very extremely important to the success of any organization now, just because the internet is so vast and big. Like standing out on it, it takes work. So investing some time in researching that, it can also help you. I wanted to end on just how to be successful in post creation and post management. Basically what we've been talking about all along. Just so what you want to do is you want to define what you're trying to achieve first. If you're in a business to business, this is primarily content for like archiving company successes, showing your company's voice, like interacting, you know. And then business to consumer, you're trying to sell products, keep them informed of new products that are coming out, keep them aware of stuff that's coming in the future, and then keeping the public just aware of your organization in general. That's always important. Knowing how to track this with the web analytics and knowing what you're tracking, how that relates to the success that you're bringing to the table. And that's the learning what you're doing right in your posts. Another thing to keep track of is make sure you're keeping on track and staying updated with your content management systems, your content calendar. Like I said, 2 weeks should be prepared ahead of time. And then also 2 months is where you should be, your head should be at, like making sure you know what is coming ahead. You want to be able to merge your creativity with your analytical views from the web analytics and from what your audience is telling you. That's how you make these posts. You want to be like a good writer, but you also want to see what your audience wants and give it to them. I'm sure they're trying to tell you. I mean, you can see if you're doing what you're doing right, but from your boss, but really who you're trying to impress is the people that you're sending that content to. Use direct response copy to encourage your audience for immediate engagement. The direct response copy can be as simple as like a call to action, or saying go to our website and then actually linking the site or having a link to further information right then and there. You get their attention for these posts for like maybe 5 seconds while they read it over. But if you're linking to something, you've pulled them onto a different page. They might be more invested at that point. And then lastly, just a reminder not to plagiarize and to try to understand the copyright law, and just like make sure you're doing things within the guidelines. And that's how to be successful. So we're excited. Sorry. That's it. Thank you. Oh, and I wanted to open up the floor to Jason Curry for Q&A. If anybody would like to ask any questions, he is an expert in this. So
I also wanted to just address real quick, I saw Dr. Golden's message in the chat, but this will be posted on YouTube. And if anyone is interested in a copy of the presentation, if you want to put your email in the chat, we can get that to you.
Great job, guys. Covered a lot of good stuff. So congratulations. It looks like you you all did a good amount of work digging into the different details of everything. So well done. I can definitely see you put a lot of work in this.
if nobody has any questions, did any of my team members prepare any questions for Jason or Ben?
I got a question.
Thank you.
So, Jason, so you heard the presentation, and so first of all, guys, I thought this was excellent, right? And I can tell already, you know, so much more than I do about this stuff, you know, the details. So, Jason, if you heard them go through all the different types of social media and all the different you know, modalities and applications, if you had to pick one or maybe one or two that are most important or most effective in your experience, right? Well, what do you think it would be? And I know it would depend on the market and the product or the service. I understand that, but just in general, if you had to pick like one or two most effective modalities, what would you say?
So when John and I had a call a couple days ago, and we talked about this exact thing. You know, so there's two books. One's called Scientific Advertising. I believe it's from 1892, 1932. I believe it's from the 1890s. Claude C. Hopkins, and then there's another one, David Ogilvy. You know, the most important thing is one, understanding that, you know, if you just strip social media and all of the new modalities away from everything, ultimately, you know, in marketing, it's you're making creative to influence people to take an action, right? So regardless of medium, this, that, or the other, that's the first thing to understand. And historically, you know, understanding that marketing is a science, understanding how to measure everything is the most important first. And then second, how do you merge knowing how to measure the performance to everything to putting good creative together? So understanding analytics is probably the first thing that everybody should really teach themselves, because ultimately, when you're going to build a campaign, you have to be able to measure the performance for the business. And then after that, I would probably say knowing how to write really well. So understanding, so it really just goes back to the basics, but in new form. So one, understand analytics, get trained up in analytics. There's tons of free services out there. I mean, you can get fully certified in Google for free. And then two, learn how to write well, very specifically direct response copywriting. And then once you understand those two things, and then, you know, you're understanding analytics, you're understanding how to write, and then you start to get into testing, because all marketing is testing. That will matriculate down into all the different things. So when we talk about graphic design and you're testing out, you can test out a couple different variations of a design with copy, and understanding how to set a control with variables. And then and that's going to translate over into marketing automation whenever. So let's say it doesn't really get stale. You're going to build like a decision tree and something called Active Campaign, which would be a marketing automation software platform. So all of these other things that you all talked about, blogging, automation, et cetera, it's all going to start with a good understanding of analytics and how to write well.
So do you mind if I ask a follow-up just real quick? John, is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so you mentioned testing. So how does that happen? How do you test your, like your social media messages, or
Sure.
how's that done?
Sure. So whenever we talked about, so John and I had talked about, when you're working for a business, right, and you're managing their social account, what should you do, right? So so first it's setting a goal, right? What's the goal that you're trying to achieve for that business? So if it is to grow followers, right? So now we're going to so you're usually only going to have two goals. It's usually not going to be likes. It's not going to be shares. You're trying to either grow the audience or you're trying to generate leads. If just getting down to brass tacks, because ultimately as a marketer, our job is to generate business. So how you split test social media posts is generally when you're posting something on social media, you're sharing something, right? Most of the time, it's going to be a piece of content for businesses that are getting to the point where they're generating revenue using social media. So when you're posting content, and let's say the audience gets to the level that it's large enough where your competition, everybody's sort of using social media to the point where you need to post more times than once a day. It's similar to like publishing. So publishers, whether most people know it or not, publishers will test out 3, 4, 5, 6 different headlines per every single article that they actually, write. And then when they distribute it out, they change the headline of that article and then keep the one that gets the most clicks in social media. So, when you're very actively engaging in social media, and this is posting multiple times a day across multiple mediums, testing out the copy that you're writing against all of these different audiences and which one gets the most engagement, that's how you figure out what copy works versus what copy doesn't. So understanding what a control is. So a control would say, let's say you write one call to action, or let's say you write a statement, or let's say a question and answer. So a question and answer format would be like, let's say for the bird store, in regards to John, if somebody who's like, looking for cardinal food, we've got the best cardinal food here at the bird store, et cetera, et cetera. So you use that as a control, use that across every single social platform that they have. So you have the question, you have the call to action, and see how that works. Now, every week, use that same thing, but use the control, but change the call to action, and then use the different variants to test which one's getting the most engagement. And that would be somewhat of a simple way to figure that out.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Do you want to give? I know we talked about this, but do you have any like tips for people that might be in charge of like a social media account and managing it next semester, or like even in their internship, like coming up? Do you have any tips for those people that'll probably be viewing this video on YouTube or something?
Sure. So doing your due diligence and research is super important. So if you're going to be managing social for somebody, looking at, let's say you build a cohort of the top competitors in your particular niche, right? So you're usually going to have aspirational businesses that are much better than the one that you're working with. You're going to have ones that are going to be at parity, and there's going to be ones that aren't going to be nearly as good. So looking at, building a cohort of all the businesses that you're competing against, and especially, let's say, looking at the ones that are better than you, figure out what they're doing that you're not doing, and then start doing that. So let's say an example would be, let's say the bird store, for instance. Look online and see if there's other bird stores online. Look up their social media accounts, put that in a spreadsheet, and look at how many followers they have. Look at how many times they're posting. Look at how much general engagement they get. And there's tools that can do this. One is actually called Rival IQ. If you go to rivaliq.com, you can actually, it'll give you all these stats, right? So then if you figure out that, okay, here's who I'm working with, here's our competitors, and let's say my audience at the bird store is, let's say, total audience across all social platforms is maybe 20,000 followers across everything. But then let's say if you have some competitors where their total audience is 100,000, how many times are they posting? What are they posting? When are they posting things? Are they posting images? Are they posting videos? How are they doing this? Do they have and really get into the details of really figuring out exactly what they're doing, and then copy it. And then go back to, basic principles of testing out and see of the things that you're posting in your particular, your particular audience platforms, what's working and what's not, and then double down on the things that are working and then quit doing the things that aren't. And it's pretty straightforward, common sense stuff. You just got to know how to ask the right questions.
Okay. I just want to thank you again for coming in, Jason, and taking your time out of your schedule to come and attend this meeting. And
Sure.
Yeah, thanks to my team too for all of the help throughout, and Dr. Golden for the guidance. Alara, you can stop the recording now.